Check 1, 2, 3. This is also on. Yeah. My home at McGill or on Monashee, they're like, this isn't a real house. You can't vote with this place. Oh, by the way, this is the Birds and Bots podcast as well. So you are on.
Mine's not on yet.
Mine is though.
Okay, perfect.
This is nice. I've been in these apartments a few times, which is at the. Actually, I won't reveal your location. But it's a nice place. It's nice.
Yeah, I enjoy it. It's close to school. It's funny. It's actually the furthest away from all of my classes that it could be.
Of course.
Yeah. All of my classes are in A&E, so
It's super cozy though. So much, like even where I'm living, I realize how much more cozy a home can be at UCH.
Mhm.
Like I made my room, my house really nice at UCH, but like now I feel like I'm like coziness at home. Even here I feel like it's a slight hug. Maybe it's the walls are not, they're curved. I'm meeting up with a guy later from Hong Kong, and we did a course on, we didn't do a course, he gave a course on like feng shui and how they remove as many rounded or sharp corners on rooms, because the feng shui can just cut away all these feelings.
yeah.
The duct tape, I love it. Electrical tape, I guess.
Yeah, it was Can you talk?
Hello, 1, 2, 1, 2.
I'll get you to put it pretty close to your mouth.
I'm gonna switch chairs too.
Okay, sure thing. Do you sit on the ground ever?
I do, but I like solid backs. Like, Spartan-esque. I mean, I guess the floor is more Spartan-esque than a fluffy chair.
I feel like this always starts with me talking about the chairs.
Yeah. Everyone's a little different about their little preferences, right?
Yeah. Well, Charlie and I did one last week, and I sat down. Actually, I have a better option.
Nice.
And so Charlie and I did one, and we both sat down cross-legged on the floor. Or we moved around quite a bit, but
I'd be down to swap as it goes on. It's just kind of like as the flow goes on.
yeah.
A nice place to kind of start off at first, just to kind of feel the chairs, the moment. These two are really good for your back and all the things along with it, right?
Yeah, we just have 30 chairs. I've started bringing this to class now.
The whole recording set or this little chair?
No. Just this chair.
Okay, yeah.
Just a little stool. Yeah, because
It forces you to be upright, probably,
I can't do it. All my classes are at least an hour, so I just start to lay back into my chair and I can feel my back going. And I've never really had a strong back, so.
Yeah.
At least my lower back's always
Your
been
beard's been gone. How long has it been gone? I don't know if I noticed.
yeah.
I just realized.
No, I shaved this last week.
Okay.
The day that we got back from Thanksgiving. So yeah,
Cool.
last week Monday.
Cool.
Or I guess this Monday. Past Monday. Yeah.
Did you go home with the family then, I guess, or?
No, I went to Ty's place and had Thanksgiving dinner there in Kelowna.
Oh, sweet.
It was awesome.
Yeah,
It was a lot of fun.
That's cool. And this is his place before? Or he just moved in with you? Or no,
So-
he said you're his new roommate. That's what he said on the way in here.
He was living here previously, and then I moved in. Yeah.
Well, how's you been, brother? How's life?
Yeah, it's good. Just getting ready for hand rehab, and then
Shit.
once that happens, yeah.
What are these little balls?
They're pins.
Pins? Like
Yeah.
acupuncture pins or something else?
Like pins that are so my surgeon drilled holes through the back of my knuckle and then
Yikes.
into the first column of the pinky finger, and then stuck pins through those drill holes while like she was holding it in place, and then stuck the pins through so that it all kind of went together. And now I just have 3 pins that are Xing each other in the actual bone, so it's just keeping it in.
Is it trying to slowly heal bone over bone and stuff?
So it shattered, so it broke off initially at the knuckle and then up the middle.
Jeez.
So it going through in the X is keeping the middle in place, and obviously all 3 of them are just keeping the base of the knuckle in place.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Was it just life, or was it sports, or was it just something else?
It's actually funny. So what actually happened was I was blocking in volleyball, and Ryan swung on a ball. I reached out, which I shouldn't have reached. And yeah, it just caught my pinky in the perfect way. amazed that it hasn't happened before. But
Yeah.
I have gotten really tired of explaining. Same with my Achilles. I just got.
Sorry,
You,
man.
you should no.
You gotta post it,
no,
man.
no. This is the thing that I'm so every time that someone asks me, normally in everyday life,
Sure,
I'll
sure.
just give them a different explanation
Sure.
because I've gotten tired of explaining the
course.
same story every
It
time.
was a bear last week.
Yeah.
Something else this week. I get it.
I've convinced some people of some funny stuff. No, I told a bunch of people that Tyler like threw plates at me and put the hand towels in the right way. So
Yeah,
broke my
He's like,
pinky.
God damn it, man! You can't be my roommate like this. 3/4 of an inch on the side. Oh my god.
I didn't put the hand towels in the right order. It was my fault. It was-
Okay. That's some victim mentality. That's for sure. Oh, that's brutal. Okay, cool.
Yeah, but yeah, so I don't know. It's been fun. It's been an interesting experience, but I'm excited to get back into it. It was, yeah, definitely different than last year because last year I just wasn't able to play at all.
Sure. I
And
remember.
there was no hope of playing towards the end of the year.
Mhm.
But doing this, I think this is something I found out quite recently. Actually, just watching the guys this past weekend was realizing that this isn't a season-ending injury, so I can actually go back and play with the guys again.
Little hope. That's
Yeah.
super cool.
Yeah, no, yeah, it feels good. So I'm excited to get back into the gym with them and start hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, what about
I'm
you?
glad. That's been well. Do I have any pain besides my existence? My existence. And that's about it. Yeah, all has been pretty well. What's the most recent would be this last week. I pounded out 3 exams and then so it's a hell week as they always are. And yeah, I'm just kind of getting back into my depression. Just kind of finally treading water again.
Mhm.
So the only things internal suffering, laying on my couch, just kind of but it's finally kind of getting back into just accepting it.
Yeah.
But a couple days ago, I hit the first day on Friday, and I just got blackout drunk because I was just numb this pain. It came out of nowhere, and I was like, I need to stop feeling this pain for a minute, please. But I feel a lot better today, luckily enough. And I know that pain. It's just it's life.
Yeah. What do you think triggers it?
I think for this one probably would be I mean, it's the changing of the season, but also I had this pent up angst of these 3 exams. If I fail any of my classes until the end, it's I have to redo my whole TRU. Well, not redo. I have to do another year of TRU, and I'm kind of tired of my 6th year. I love it, but I'm kind of ugh, give me some money so I can actually buy more of these bubble teas or whatever.
They're good, hey?
Yeah, they're really nice.
Which ones did you get?
I got a matcha.
Nice.
Just a little kick me up to keep me awake.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's been well. What else? Yeah, I mean, I'm in a weird state of I'm stoked to be here today. Because even I remember when you messaged me, that was the day I actually got really drunk. I was kind of just craving some conversation.
Right.
You know, I'm craving I love to talk with people, love to do the thing and stuff. And then it's also hard to find people just to talk with about stuff, about any philosophically to psychologically to any of these things, just to kind of, I don't know, I grow better with people sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm it's almost intellectually alone sometimes. I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it also consolidates perspective a lot better when you have the ability to talk with people about it and you can actually articulate your ideas, and sometimes you say things that actually don't make sense, and once
Yeah.
you say them you realize that they don't make sense. I think it's good to have people to talk to. I mean, yeah, it's a tight social group. What are your majors again?
I'm doing
Politics?
history, political
Yeah.
science, and economics.
Man, that's so cool.
Yeah, I love it, but it's definitely it's all econ now right now.
Yeah.
It's all the graphs and the supply curves and all that. Really interesting. I love the theory. Once you start putting in algebraic equations, I'm no. I understand why the fiscal market sometimes when you increase the money supply, you're trying to deal with the inflation rate because people are scared of price levels rising, because when you see prices going up, you know prices are going up. But the reason why that is because the xy plus 1 times 2, 3 equation. Nope, I'm out already. Get me out of here.
That was really impressive.
Yeah. I understand the theory.
That kind of scared me.
Sorry, man. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting stuff. I love it.
Yeah.
And you're doing a psych and a minor in something else, right?
So psych and sociology are
And
my
sociology.
majors, and
Okay.
then I'm gonna minor in philosophy.
Cool.
So all the ologies that don't really matter.
Hey man, no, they're the ones that matter the most, really, right? They're what gives us, it's like art, right? Art provides the nurturing of our society.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause like life would be all gray suits and gray ties if we don't have the enjoyable side of the aspects.
It's all, I find all of the stuff I'm interested in is quite feminine.
Sure.
In terms of
Yeah.
actually putting things into feminine versus masculine, not necessarily by gender or sex, but by.
Well, I know what you mean.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but you're trying to like say like it's a form of communication. It's trying to understand the feelings that come around with it. It's trying to understand not just the objective, but rather the almost the form of the issue.
Yeah, it's not going into STEM fields.
Yeah.
Which is typically.
Is STEM? But here, actually, I wouldn't even know that. I don't think about it. So, do you think STEM is masculine? I guess it would be highly systematic, highly placed out. I guess, yeah.
I think in terms of personality and the personality differences, and I would say the typical interests between men and women, I would say STEM fields is more of a masculine profession. And then, like I said, the classes that I'm taking seem to be more of a feminine.
Understanding how the community works and how it thrives and how it can get better, and helping one from individual perspective to a multi-person perspective, and how non-tangible things can really have an effect on things. I was even thinking about that recently about, what was it? Oh, I don't remember. I said something about how something so invisible can have such a massive effect on my life. I don't remember what it was though. But I think that's why it's such an important aspect, right? Because they're the ephemeral things, like, or not ephemeral, whatever, the ethereal things or something like that. So there's such an importance to trying to understand how that plays into people's psyches, because it seems like that's what no one's talking about in economics, no one's talking about in political science. They don't talk about, they say Trump is crazy, they say people are rational beings, but they're not really talking about these hidden factors in the background. So
I think we are going a time shift from masculine to feminine. I think it was always very STEM fields, go, but now you're seeing a lot of improvement in mental health and a lot more talk about that kind of stuff. And just obviously those fields of study are becoming more well regarded, or better regarded, I guess.
do you think, I've been really enjoying this. I think it was maybe 2 years ago I was on a Kick Up It about, I listened to a First Nations community leader talk about holistic learning, and how, would you say holistic learning is on the feminine side? They're trying to unify, as you may have noticed at university, it's usually you're in your field, and you know there's other fields going around you, but holistic would be like you're learning psychology because it's affected by physics, you know?
Yes. Do I think that that's a feminine?
Or just like holistic learning is through understanding that, like almost the system we have now is you learn about a topic, and you kind of, maybe if you're lucky, you play around with some other classes. That's why you take your breath. But they're not talking about themselves inside the classes. They're just econ, science, or physics, but barely any holistic learning, which I would say is a more feminine learning, at least in the aspects that we're talking about.
Yes, I think I would agree with that. It's less rigid. I think that would be a good way to put it. I've started realizing that a lot more, just the interconnectedness of all things, and not necessarily just physical, but also the intangible things. Like you said earlier, how econ relates to psychology, which relates to politics, which relates to sociology, which relates to like everything.
It's even our biology, the fact that we're triggered by a need to fuck and sex and feel dopamine pleasure at the moment, right?
Yeah. Oh, the majority of my psych classes are now going from, initially it was all not theory, but more intangible, like conditioning.
Okay.
Like social conditioning.
Pavlov's.
Yeah.
Pavlov's musical instruments.
Yeah. the bowls.
The singing bowls.
Yeah. So yeah, initially it was Pavlovian conditioning, but now as I'm getting into the latter end of the degree, it's now getting more into biology.
Interesting.
I'm in a neurobiology of learning and memory class. Last year I took a neuropsychology learning and memory. Oh, sorry, I just talked about that.
That's all.
There was a sound and perception class, which it was a really, really cool class, and it went off a little bit of both. A lot of it was physiology, and then a lot of it was theory of why we perceive sound the way that we do.
Interesting. And does it talk, again, I assume, is it trying to go deeper into my sound is your sound, or probably not, because I would say sound is even more affected than like our vision, because like the waves that would go through is so much more affected than like you probably see this a blue that might be a different cue than mine, but we're probably saying blue.
Yeah.
But like a tonal change in songs, as even when you play around with like music, you can see how much that can change.
Yeah.
So
Sound is cool, man. Sound is, I mean, we both create and perceive sound. I had Charlie on last week, and there's an effect that I kind of messed around with called speech to song effect.
okay.
And it's basically if you play a little cut of speech, a little snippet of speech a few times, the human brain will naturally turn it into a song.
Cool.
It's really, really cool, but it kind of made me think a lot more about how sound is actually, that's just a part of our physiology. That's something that's been created in us, that it's not that we just create sound, but sound is created within us.
Interpreted, you mean?
Yeah,
in
yeah,
such a
yeah.
sense? Like why would be like why are we like what was it a dissonance song? Like I know a guy who used to be the bouncer at the Central, and he does like dissonance melodic heavy death metal.
Mhm.
But I mean like that's just noise, and we've decided to interpret that as like a dissonance heavy metal. Is that what you mean? Kind of like we've interpreted. Really, it's just noise. It's got no biases. It's just the noise frequencies.
Yeah.
But we've created, for some reason, this is bad, or not bad, but it's dissonance music or melodic.
Yeah.
Okay.
But even, it's not even that we interpret it in a certain, but we are interpreting it, but it's becoming a thing, just like how art for some reason makes us feel good. Like sound just becomes music for some reason, and that's just a physiologically inspired thing.
Okay, yeah. Like all noises, like especially if you're like, you can notice it most when you're meditating, or you could almost, if you were paying attention to your thoughts, when you start listening to the moments, like you start hearing the crack in the door, the wind or whatever,
Yeah.
like, it turns almost into like a natural song.
Yeah.
Like that's almost where the brain goes to right away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
I'm glad you bridged that, because
I had to
I have
figure
a
out
very
what you meant.
difficult time articulating that, because obviously that's just a really random.
Is that theories part of the class you're talking about? Just why we don't know why?
That's just what I've been thinking about lately.
Okay.
How do we interpret things? How do physiologically we've just made sound into song. That's something that's inscribed in us now, and I don't know why that is. Why is sound so important? Why is song so important that it's now a part of our brain? It's wired that way. Same thing with art. Why?
I wonder if it's probably in the same effect that like I know it's almost like not just human, right? Because I know tomatoes, which I'm not sure if tomatoes are alive or the plant of the tomato is alive, but the tomato grows better when it hears music.
Yeah, and when you speak to your plants and stuff.
Yeah, exactly, and stuff like that. And I wonder, because I mean, to go ridiculously quantum, we're possibly particles or waves, which is just music too, because that's all hertz.
Yeah.
So like it's almost like the solid tangible wave that we're constantly moving, hitting like music. So it's like jiving us in a way. So
that's the whole theory behind the singing bowls, is that each chakra has a different frequency, that it's its homeostatic spot, and over time obviously those places go out of balance and it's not at its baseline. So the whole theory behind the chakra bowls is that you want to reinstate the homeostatic baseline by playing it at a certain frequency, which brings it back to that. So it moves it around a little bit, and then it naturally re-centralizes itself, I guess.
Yeah, and it's not even just in, so chakra bowls would be coming from it's Buddhism, right? But it's monk?
Yeah,
it's more from the Tibet, right?
Yeah.
But then like you can look all the way over the world. Then if you do an ayahuasca trips, you have a shaman with you trying to play music to try and also. So it's like it's obviously it's not just like maybe it's chakra too in their sense, but it's like it's there's that connection through the spirit and like music to try and heal you, and it helps guide your process and stuff like that. That's super cool. That's super interesting.
It's cool stuff, man. It's really, really cool stuff. And yeah, I think that another part of the physiological thing is that it's helping with binding communities together. Communities, same with storytelling. Storytelling and music has always been such a spiritually bonding communal thing.
And you can see it in any sense, from the First Nations songs and powwows to like those movies in Africa, they're doing the dance footsteps and stuff, to even just sailors singing on boats, right? It's such a communal thing. I wonder why. I mean, again, I guess we don't know, but it's too bad too. I have such a weird memory for music, and like I always lose words for song. So I always like, I've always felt like an outsider when people start singing. I wish it was like a talent I could pick up. I don't mind karaoke because I can read the lines, but I always feel like left out. I even feel that just the fact that I can't sing along when people are singing songs, and it's funny because it's like I don't care that I can't sing the songs, but when people are singing these songs and I'm not with them, I feel almost left out. So it's such a weird thing that song, even though I don't care about it, I definitely know that I feel like an outsider when I can't sing along with people.
That's really interesting. Yeah. So you just
my memory just doesn't click when I'm on my highs. Like it works. Sometimes songs stick in my head, but most of the times it's melodic. I hear the rhythm and hear the background. I know where the song up, down, and how the voice adds to the music, but I don't remember the lyrics. Yeah.
Interesting. It's funny actually. One of the recommendations by Terrence McKenna when you're having a bad trip on psilocybin was that he said he would just start singing. Yeah. He would just start singing. He said that a lot of it was getting oxygen into his body.
Cool. Yeah.
Oxygenating the blood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he said that was super helpful, and I guess that would also make sense in terms of boosting morale.
Well, I can't remember, is it shrooms or this fake LSD I used to have? They're vasoconstrictors sometimes. Like they tighten your blood up sometimes. Is that the right phrase? So shrooms can lightly do that.
Yeah.
And that's why a little vitamin C and a little liquor can help your shroom trip go massive, because your blood flow and all that goes up. But like because of that, your oxygen must be going down too if you're getting constricted in your blood, which is transporting your oxygen. So I'm sure that might be the reason. That's really cool. Do you ever feel sometimes, I know when I do a really large dose sometimes, or maybe it's that other stuff, but I almost feel like this like contraction feelings every once in a while when it's in like in a high, like maybe like 7+ grams. I just feel like being consumed like intensely.
That's a heroic dose.
Ugh, I love it sometimes. I've been trying to do grinding. I guess I'm posting this, fuck. Whatever, I guess. But I was grinding them up and then just like popping them in the smoothie. So like 1.5 grams of like powder, which is like way more, and just like shoots you into space. I remember like I had this beautifully godly one over the summer, and just like being a son of Judah and just like trying to understand like why am I suffering? Why am I doing this? Because like. And I had the book of the Bible in my hand, or the Torah and all this stuff, and I'm like, well, why is this suffering? And I know my dreams, what I want to do, but at the same time, like, duh, why can't you just answer me, God? And I'm like, oh wait, this is what this book's about. It's a goddamn trial. That's what this is. It's why I feel like shit. Why I want to do and why it's so hard. Because that's the point of it. It's fucking trial, man. You can't get away from it. Like you're tried. What's it? Oh my God, Abe and. Whatever. A lot of the Christian stories are about like Cain and Abel. And I can't even do it because I'm not really Christian or Jewish that well enough. But like they're all trials, and that's the point. It's supposed to suck. You're supposed to just keep pushing through, and it's an interesting way how. Yeah, I don't think I have a point to that. I think that's just all I was saying.
Yeah. I think a lot of the Bible and other religious doctrines is just an archetypical telling of stories that are supposed to guide you. The same as David and Goliath is a good example of encouraging people to take risks against things that they perceive as too big to defeat.
Yeah. A cool thing about that, I'm meeting with this Hong Kong guy today, and about David and Goliath. Right. I look at Hong Kong fighting against China. Fighting back is literally a good story of David and Goliath, and these are just a rebranding of the same story, right? I hope they do well. I hope.
So what do you could you explain that more just for?
Sure. So obviously this is time of the year. It's October 20th, 2019, and there's been riots going on in Hong Kong for the last I think 3 weeks, maybe since the end of
months.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it's been a slow push, but like the heavy riots have where I think the first person died the last couple of weeks.
It's gotten a lot more aggressive lately.
It's gotten a lot more intense. China's speeding up its process to try and integrate Hong Kong. Obviously, Hong Kong is allowed to be an independent city-state, half and half special economic zone in China until 2049. That was the agreed plan after they gave it back to China in 1998 from the British. But I guess China's had enough power and clout that it's really just testing its claws to see how much it can get away with, how much interaction will cause it to. Can they finally take back Hong Kong without losing the financial markets to the globe? Or look at how now that it has some strength again and it actually can fight back with this tariff war, it's even doing this at the same time, as well as demolishing the Tibet and as well as that. It's like this, I don't know if they're doing it, I want to talk to him about it today. Are they actually doing it because they need to do it, or are they just doing it to just keep testing how strong they've got it, right? Because they could have got away with this in the 90s because the rest of the world would have just condemned them, and then they could have lost their economy then. But they've almost have such a large domestic policy, they can almost take over and maybe they will. There'll be rebellion for way after.
Yeah.
Sorry, do you have any other questions on it? I'm just laying out information. I can
Please
try and.
please keep laying out information.
Okay. And I haven't been paying as much attention as I want to, but I think the Hong Kongese are just exhausted of it because there's more regulations, there's rules at night, you can't go out, no masks, obviously. They've had a long history of like democracy in a sense. Yeah, their economy's being shut off. I mean, Hong Kong used to be such a huge player in China. I think back before China got really rich in like 89 or 79? 79. Hong Kong was like a quarter of the entire Chinese economy. So it was a necessary step because it was still like the financial market. It was the main exporter part of the country. All the high tech. It still worked with all the European powers in the period. But now that it's now, I think it's only like it's in the fractions of a percent now. Oh man, I don't know. And then it just sucks. I don't know how to help them out. I don't know why China needs to take them over and like. But I guess they're just so fragile. I guess they're so scared to just allow any dissidents come against them.
It's a totalitarian dictatorship.
Literally.
That's the issue. Like, once you establish a totalitarian dictatorship, it's you have to conquer everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of ideology.
Yeah.
And what was the word I'm looking for? It's just brainwashing. You have to brainwash your citizens, and you have to conquer ideologies that oppose yours, which is everything. Because in a totalitarian dictatorship, you're not allowed to be free.
It's so sad. I just don't know how do you deal with this? Like, how do you, like, I'm trying to imagine I want to do foreign relations in my future.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you can nuke, you can't, they're not doing anything politically or economically, because the only people that can really throw punch to punch with China is the US. They've grown so much bigger than everything, and US is being run by Trump, which I don't know about Trump. I don't know. He's too much for me to even consider. But he's not helping out Tokyo. I'm looking at Toto here, and not helping out Hong Kong in any sense. And it's just so left and right. And like, do we support Hong Kong? Is this? I don't know why the world isn't coming together for this kind of situation. They're scared of losing resource access to like Chinese goods. I don't know, man.
It seems like it seems like it's not just a micro decision, but macro, and I feel like citizens have to actually pressure governments to make moves. And actually, I mean, I wish there was another month maybe in the current federal election, because then I feel like I think that would be a good platform.
Well, they skipped it. On October 4th, it was supposed to be the month debate on foreign policy, and Trudeau didn't accept the acceptance to go to the foreign policy debate.
Really?
So that's why we're not talking about it.
Why do you think that is?
It could be this China thing. It could be Trudeau's had a hard time dealing with Trump, and Trudeau's probably had a hard time dealing with China. Obviously, in the fact of we captured their CFO of Huawei back in February of this year, I think.
What was that?
Back in February, the Huawei is one of China's largest manufacturers of technology and phones.
Mm-hmm.
They're a global company now. The CFO is the daughter of the founder, so the CFO, Chief Financial Officer. Huawei's been not charged, but they've been allocated with putting spyware into their technology, because that technology also goes into government offices like in Sweden, Poland, the US.
Right.
And by having that, it's like backway access. And since Huawei and China's companies are very interconnected.
Mhm.
There was a fear by the U.S. government that Huawei using this back entrance, they could just be spying on the government access points.
Yeah.
So America asked Canada, or Trump asked Canada to capture her at Vancouver, and then they wanted them to extradite her to the U.S. so they could try her.
Right.
And she was held there until I think July. I don't think she's still there, but eventually we let her go back. I think I haven't heard as much on the story recently
Mhm.
because the U.S. isn't allowed to ask for an extradition if it's a political reason,
Right.
and the trade war was going on. But that whole incident was such on shaky political grounds that they weren't sure if this was even the right action of Trudeau to do at all. His his Chinese foreign diplomat spoke out against Trudeau for doing it
Mhm.
in China, and then he was sacked right after that, and then kept speaking out even after he was fired. So that was a whole political scandal in this foreign thing. And I guess Trudeau also has been also the India trip when he dressed up a little overindulgently a couple of years ago,
Oh yeah.
and then I don't know what else Trudeau has really done foreign relations wise for anything.
Mhm.
He hasn't won out at the G7 events. He hasn't won at the G20 events. Greta came to the country just a month ago, or this month I think actually. She talked to Trudeau and just basically roasted him the whole time. So it's just like his foreign policy hasn't been doing so well, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. That makes sense. But I definitely do think it is a
Well, I don't think they should have skipped it. I think it's pretty cowardly.
Mm.
But what can you do?
yeah.
Hmm.
It does seem like something that even affecting the Hong Kong situation or China situation in general on the micro scale is really, really difficult. How do you find stuff that's not made in China? And even if it says made in the USA, it can be assembled in the USA or it can be assembled in Canada, but the majority of parts all come from China.
Yeah.
Because it's so cheap.
Yeah. It's such a complicated issue. It's a global financial, not global, well, it's a global financial, but there are a lot of issues with globalization that we haven't found a way to improve the world. And I think I'm actually pro the rise of China to an extent that I want China and the US to equal. Because in a class last semester called the unipolar moment, which is about after 1991, the Soviet Union fell, and with the Soviet Union falling, America's kind of been crazy for the last 25 years.
Right.
Because it was the only superpower around, and as the only superpower around, it started slapping its dick around everywhere. It went into Iraq by using a justification of humanitarian actions, which caused all this ISIL stuff. I mean, it stopped feeding money into countries that would be the first, second, and third world. They're all gone now because the first world was the West, the second world was the Soviet Union, and the third world was everyone who was neutral. And sometimes, because you had the enemy of the Soviet Union, the US would work with countries that were not sure which side to be on. So the US had to be the good guy. It had to be the democratic country going abroad to help other people's humanitarian actions. But it's like Superman having an arch villain, but when he has no one left to do, what's he gonna do? Soil the fields and do anything, right? So I guess instead he turned evil, but not trying to be, but just started to do whatever he wanted to.
Yeah.
So like having China being a superpower as well might actually bring about a revivalism of what I love about America. It does have some issues for sure, but it does want to be like the democratic free nation of censorship, bad government, all this kind of stuff. Get away from that. So I'm pro the rise of China, but that's also a bad thing because it's also some people are going to suffer because of that, because there's this Hong Kong situation. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's kind of gone without checks and balances for quite a while. So the rise of China would kind of not solve that, but
It might provide a better benefit, and it might actually make China a better player too, because China will still have to, even if China becomes a superpower like the US, it'll learn pretty quickly. You also can't wave your dick around and do anything, because eventually the rest of the world will fight against you. I'm sure you know from Peterson, it's you can if you're an alpha male, you have to let the little chimps win 1/3 of the time, or they'll rip your arms off, right?
well, everything. Same with mice.
Well, that's what I mean. But I'm
Yeah,
just picking the one example. Like
Yeah.
you can't just be the biggest, baddest guy on the block because there's still 190 countries to your one. They still can win even if you have 2/3 of the population. They'll still. It's just a bad situation. So there's a lot of cool things about China that I'm sure you know through. I was talking with Devin about how you're really into Eastern philosophy, like so am I. A lot of that has blended with Chinese, right? From Confucianism, Taoism, their own form of like Mencianism, and even their own Buddhist practices.
Yep.
Those underline a lot of China, and I think they need to find a way to bring that back out.
Reconnect with the roots a little bit.
And what better way to show the rest of the world, refine your philosophies and send them abroad, because that's what America does, and that's why people like America. Freedom of speech and all these other philosophies that come along with it. So China has some really good ones too. Like sometimes you really should care about the community before the individual, because the air is about the community around us. The having food for the entire community isn't always just about the individual, but it's about everyone should eat, not about every individual should eat. So it's a weird thing, but China has that aspect better than say the United States, which is so individualistic.
Right.
You almost sell the community out sometimes.
Yeah. Man, have you been watching South Park?
It's been good.
Dude,
Fuck you, Winnie.
my God.
Yeah, right.
Some really good episodes.
I haven't seen the last one that just came out. Is it good? Came out on Wednesday?
Last Wednesday. Yeah, Ty and I watched it. The Band in China episode, our jaws were just dropped
Yeah.
the entire time.
So
Man,
good.
Trey Parker and Matt Stone, they're doing things that other like nobody else will
Not
do.
here. Yeah.
Everyone's just terrified.
Yeah.
Like NBA, and NBA's had some. I feel like NBA made
Dude, the Kobe Bryant. Wait, Kobe?
LeBron.
No, LeBron.
I had a bad week. Yeah, I feel like the NBA had a lot more power than they thought in that situation, and I think appeasing China might have been the wrong play, because I think from this point forth, anytime that there's any sort of appeasement, then it's just like you said, they're testing the waters, seeing how far they can go, and they're having a lot more influence on private businesses in the United States.
Yeah.
Same with Blizzard.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few players from Blizzard have gotten banned and had their winnings taken away
Ridiculous.
for speaking out, for siding with Hong Kong protesters,
Yeah.
which is Blizzard is an American-owned company. Same with the NBA.
I don't even think the tournament was in China. I think the tournament was somewhere else, but it was ran by Blizzard.
Yeah, he was a European guy too.
Yeah.
It was
It's ridiculous. I was reading a Reddit comment last night, and I read a similar one a couple of days ago. A Uyghur, you should probably see the word, it's the Ughiyour. That might be spelled wrong, but it's the Chinese Muslims, and they're called the Uyghurs. And there's a Uyghur activist in Deutschland right now, in Germany, and they're calling lots of Uyghur families, but this guy's an activist, so he cares. They called him with his sister, saying like, you have to stop the activism, please, think about your family. And then some unknown military guy's like, you gotta stop doing this for your family's sake. And this guy is a nationalized German citizen. Sure, he's Uyghur of back descent. That's China literally calling people in other countries saying, stop, or we'll kill your family home. That is beyond insane. Like, again, like, oh my God, like America has a lot of issues, and it really needs to solve them. But that's like evil stuff, you know? Like what America sometimes does some purely evil stuff, but it also tries to do the right thing and just massively fucks up.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh man. Yeah, the American company thing too. And it's hard for both Blizzard and NBA are really not bad examples. They're really good examples of what companies would fail to it. Because I was really surprised when my friends really into basketball. China is the largest basketball player community in the world.
Yep.
It's got so many more basketball players just because their population size, and they like basketball. And then esports is just booming, obviously, in like all of Asia.
Yeah.
I wonder, like, how do you solve that? You think the Trump would be? You think he'd be mad about like having other countries dominate his business sector? But I don't know.
I'm sure more will come out about it, which it's just such an interesting time. I mean, I guess there's been quite a bit going on, but over the past year, I feel like there hasn't been a ton that's had a lot of weight in terms of politics.
Sure.
But I think recently with
It's two elections.
Yeah, 2 elections coming up. The Amazon is a huge issue that's starting to be dealt with. Still on fire.
Still on fire.
Yeah, I don't think it'll stop.
No. It's incentivized burnings too, right?
Yeah.
California's on fire again. Oh man, I feel so sad when like I have some conservative ideology inside me, and when I see just people post on Facebook that are like that kind of conservative, I'm like, man, bro,
It's far.
oh, it's so sad.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that recently there have been a lot of.
It's on both sides. Don't get me wrong, liberals are idiots too, and I see a lot of liberals talking about some dumb stuff, or people who support the liberals or the NDP on my Facebook. They're all idiots.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a centrist at the end of the day. I see these people fighting about these stupid similar issues, like climate change is the end of the world, or if we don't reduce our straws, some people complain about that, or some people say the liberals don't have any green policies. Hey bro, what's up?
Cut this shit out, nigga!
Yeah, boy!
Yeah, it's all about balance.
Yeah, yin yang stuff, man.
What'd you get?
Fuck you. You didn't break up?
Well, I ate his other ice cream.
Oh yeah.
I texted you, they didn't have strawberry shortcake. So I got you bugs and roadkill instead, special flavor.
Son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch.
Bugs and roadkill.
Then I'm fine to keep going. I'm in no rush. I got till like I think 3:20.
Nice. That's really good, hey?
It's growing on me. It's growing on me the more I drink it.
The spicy latte chai dirty.
Yes.
You got a photo on your like phone side?
You didn't even pay for it.
If you want it,
You're being paid in ice cream, you dirty whore.
I probably have a better camera than he does.
He has a potato.
We have a potato.
I have the International Space Station.
I have a potato. I asked how to take a picture on it. He looked at it and was like, no, there's no fucking way.
Do you want if you pop me one too? Gracias. Amigas.
This is just water.
Oh, thank you. I was thinking about this a little bit.
I can make us tea after.
It's delicious.
I really enjoy tea.
Cleansed me from sickness.
It's always a conglomerate.
Okay. You know, if you turn the phone sideways, it has a different camera.
You want a landscape camera?
Yeah. It has better. It's better quality.
If you turn yours sideways?
Yeah.
Explain yourself.
You turn off that
Flash?
I was just looking at. I broke my tooth off a couple days ago.
You broke your tooth off.
Yeah. So to root canal, then they just snapped recently. So I gotta go around.
How'd you do that?
I think it's too many drugs.
Just keep talking.
Yeah, we gotta do.
Oh, you mean like those
Normally they do
the
candy.
candy shots where it's at? Like I do the Q-tip to you. I try and get people to like.
I gotta turn sound off so you don't know I'm taking these.
I don't know why that sound on right now either, but sorry about that, brother.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So
Sorry, go ahead. Keep going.
when you so you get people to talk to you while you're taking their photo.
Yeah. I just keep asking the same questions, and it's kind of like, so, what do you? Have you always like? I think the last one I talked to a guy about, he's always been charitable about talking to people. I'm like, yeah, so where'd you get that? Because I feel like I'm charitable because I got it from my mom and stuff.
Yeah.
And if you feel like your parents really influenced the way you, yeah, mood lighting, baby.
Always.
It's okay, you get used to it. It's like you have to be what's the word called? What's it called? When you're no dignity, you know? Is that the right phrase?
Unconfident.
No. It's more like being able to take a photo while you're talking to someone is just ridiculous. But I don't know what that's called.
Oh.
You know, it works, but it's just.
Thank you.
Thanks, brother.
No worries.
I have to think of this.
It's a D word. I know that.
When you guys smoke out here, it fucking reeks.
Sorry, bro.
Potheads these days.
I think we need a little secondhand high.
You know what?
I mean, it's secondhand high. I'm super, what's the word called? Affected by weed.
Fuck, I can't think of this word.
It's okay. I lost it too. It's not dignity, but it's like, it's not disgusting either. It's,
Oh no, I totally know.
no shame. It's similar to
Yeah,
no shame.
yeah.
It's similar to no shame, but
Yeah,
there's a
that's
D
what
word.
I was thinking.
Yeah, there's a D word for it too, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Boom.
Alright, ready?
Oh, yours is not on? Mine's good too. Sounds good.
Yeah, I always just pause whenever Ty comes in.
Yeah, what a wreck. What a wrecking ball of a roommate.
We always just end up talking about really absurd stuff that there's no way I could put on.
Well, that's good though. That's good stuff too. I like my best friend is my roommate, and
Yeah.
I do have someone I can talk to a lot of the time.
Mhm.
But like our relationship is probably really feminine masculine because me and him are both. Well, I'm more on the emotional side for sure, but like the ability to like, what's our strategy? How do we improve? How do I get through this moment? How do I figure this next project out? How am I gonna line up my projects and figure this out and deal with my emotions as it's going on? But it's not really about this, like the philosophical ideas of chi or chakra, which we haven't even talked about, which I'd love to, because I'm a shitty Buddhist for sure. I made a fun joke recently. Fuck Judas Priest. It's all about Judas Buddhist. You know. Sorry.
Fuck.
Yeah.
I almost lost my wallet.
Yeah. Sorry, brother.
Yeah, no. Ty just throws plates at me if I don't put the handbells in the right
His
order.
door's still open too.
Oh, I know. I know. He's probably blasting some chakra music.
Oh. How long do they last? Like the vibrations? 10, 20, 30 seconds?
Oh, geez, here we go.
Okay. Are those different ones?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Right now, our host has went to go grab the singing Buddhist bowls. Is there a proper name? I know they're singing bowls.
Yeah,
but-
they're. Well, it was funny. I initially learnt it from this Argentinian guy.
Okay.
So we just called them cuencos the whole time because that's
Cuencos.
what they're Tibetan cuencos. Oh, I just fell. But
So they come from the same ayahuasca shamanistic tradition then? Are these not the same
no,
Buddhist
these are
bowls?
Tibetan. So, but
Okay.
he was Argentinian.
Okay.
So
Argentinian.
yeah.
That's nice.
So when he taught me, everything was in Spanish. Like he only spoke Spanish.
Sure.
So the whole time everything that he taught me was in Spanish. So when
Yes,
I went,
España.
yeah. So when I went looking for cuencos, they were like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" So,
The white boy's a wild man.
but it lasts a while. So this is 432
Hurts?
hertz.
And what chakra does it relate to?
So this relates to your third eye chakra.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a fifth chakra or sixth chakra.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have? I know on my own person, my personification of Vishuddha is the most that I align with
Mhm.
my throat.
Mine's the same.
I definitely feel at times for me between I'm a boatload of diagnoses recently. So like my ADHD, my lack of communication, my ability to sing, to even like my dyslexia ability to like communicate through words and reading. So like a lot of it's, I felt a lot of disharmony in my life about where all of my chakras, I felt those negative dissonance when I don't have a well balance. But the most one that often, when I feel my most self is when my Vishuddha, my throat chakra feels when I'm able to communicate with my fellow person without feeling bad about myself because of what I said harmed a feeling or that I'm being miscommunicated.
Right.
Yeah.
I think astrologically I'm supposed to be Vishuddha, but I think that I connect more with my third eye.
Okay.
I've had some weird experiences that have actually made me believe in this kind of stuff that
Me
were
too, man.
associated primarily with my third eye.
Cool.
Yeah.
Seeing a new perspective, seeing a new world, seeing just other spots.
Yeah, it was weird.
Sure.
It was different, but it was cool. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, this is still going.
I didn't know there's astrological side of it. I'm very new into it, and I'm not sitting down to look into Buddhism, but it's the one I'm most favoring.
Mhm.
But it's one of the many things. What's the astrological side of chakras?
So depending on when you're born, you'll be connected to a different element a little
Okay.
bit more. And I mean, everything's interconnected, especially with that side of the coin.
Sure.
So if you're going into, like when I learned how to play singles, I also learned how to do Reiki. And I learned a little bit of astrology, and there was just tons of stuff, and all of it's interconnected. So the astrology comes in where, depending on when you're born, then you'll naturally be more aligned with a certain chakra. A certain chakra will represent you a little bit more.
Interesting.
Yeah.
My uncle is an astrologist, like a full on one for like the last 30 years.
Cool.
He's the black sheep of our family. We haven't talked to him in like 20, but
Yeah.
it's really interesting. It's cool. On your, I guess are you a Leo? Or you
I'm
just
actually a
like Mars?
Cancer.
You're just Cancer.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
But
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, son, get him. Oh, God, good. Yeet.
I done got God.
Oh shit. What's Cancer?
Quiet down, peanut gallery. Crap.
It's crab.
Yeah.
Okay. And but like, what is that? Like, what time of the year? And what kind of? What effect? What's that? What is that in you?
June.
Okay.
Yeah. So June. I want to say June 22nd to July
Okay.
22nd.
Do you? I know I feel very similar to. I don't want to talk more about myself, but like I feel very similar to my Scorpion and my Chinese, my cock. You know. But like, do you feel very cancerous, crabby, and all these things, or do you feel like it's not connected to you at all?
I haven't looked into that side enough. I've just started getting into the astrology a little bit more.
Cool.
But I don't even know when it started, but I've always connected myself a little bit more to Leo.
That's what I thought. So
Yeah. I've always just, I can't remember what it was, but I identified pretty early that the lion was my spirit animal.
Is that for what kind of relationship with the lion? You sleep a lot, you chill out a lot. Yeah, you like women to be the lead of the household, you know?
All of those things sound
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
But I really liked Lion King when I was a kid.
Sure.
I think that was it actually. That was all my cats were named after Lion King characters.
Simba and all
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Sweet.
I even had one named Shadow, which I guess I could relate a little bit to
Cool.
Scar.
Cool.
Yeah, no, I was always a fan of lions. I think they're just such magnificent creatures.
Majestic as heck.
Yeah.
You definitely have a glow to you, especially when your full beard was out. I think that was the first. Was that the first? Did we meet the first time and then we did a podcast, or did I meet you before? I think I met you once, and then we did the podcast.
Yeah, I think we met briefly.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then did one.
You definitely reminded me of like a majestic lion with your long hair, scruffed up, short, and then like your beard is just
Yeah.
like boom.
Yeah, that was about a year ago. Hey, I guess I'd probably
Less than a year.
No.
It was in the winter semester we
Yeah.
met. Because I think I met you once, maybe about a year ago, maybe November.
Yeah,
And then we hung out February.
because I started doing this. I started posting podcast episodes in December.
Yeah. I wasn't near your first, but I was a couple months. It was warm enough where I went outside on your balcony and had a cigarette.
Yes.
I remember that.
Yeah, so it must have been just the beginning of springish.
Mm-hmm.
There.
But I think I came by once before for other stuff that I won't say and all that. But yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
So when did you start to get into? So how? Okay, just tell me about your religious background, because obviously, at some point Jewish. And
Yeah, my dad's side on his family for a good 2,000 years. We have a nice thick ass book of genealogy.
Cool.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. My mom's more Christian Science, so that's more like it's 18th century applications of Christianity into like modern science and pray away the pain and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't raised religious anyway, so I'm pretty lucky on that. My parents have allowed me, though in the household, well, my dad is more what you call a self-hating Jew. He's not a practicing Jew. He's not practicing any of those things.
Mhm.
And my mom is re-emerging with her own mental health that she won't talk about, but she knows it's there, but she's not defining it as mental health, but rather her own trial with God. So
Right.
that's been going on for like the last 7 or 8 years, and I didn't really. I mean, I was always curious about multiple religions and beliefs and how can you have Judaism or Christianity when we have like 300 million people out here worshiping 300 million Hindu gods, and then different gods in another country, and then throughout history different gods. How can any of those be right? And so,
Yeah.
but it's more since my depression kicked in probably in my third year of university. That was about 3 years ago.
Mhm.
I didn't know what to do. I was lashing out, lost my girlfriend over that thing, just losing myself, not understanding what was going on, not realizing as I had depression or any of these other things I've also learned over the last couple of years. And religion was kind of like the first step to go. I don't know. My brother's also a schizophrenic believer himself as Christ at one point. So I stayed away from Christianity on my mom's side because my brother dived into that. So a mixture between looking into Judaism and then Buddhism and then the practices of like mindfulness is similar to cognitive behavior therapy. And then I connected more with that. I really enjoy instrumental music, so like something about Buddhism from the chakra music in the background to like just hertz and all that. I think of anything else. I've connected with it a lot, and there's a lot of golden truths in Buddhism and all that kind of stuff. I just love it. So, and it's just something to remind myself every day.
I think that a lot of the main points, I wouldn't call it dogma, but the main scripture of the majority of religions seem to be quite similar. What do you think is, like, if I were to completely...
I would say it's just because Buddhist monks were traveling around. I don't think it's like there's a religious truth. I think it's more like India's not that far. I mean, they thought Jesus might have went to India to learn Buddhism. I feel like he was gone for 20 years. And like, Israel's not that far from India. It is. It's like 6 months or like 2 months by boat. You just go down the Red Sea. But a lot of them, I would just say it's, like we think about missionaries today always traveling and doing all this. They've been doing that forever. That's a thing that all religions go out and try and talk about their religion. So I think that the good rules have stuck around, you know?
Yeah.
But I think they're good rules because they're good rules. Is that what you wanted to ask? Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, more or less just why. So if I were to scrape the flesh off of Christianity and Buddhism, like you just said, they seem quite hand in hand with one another. A lot of the scripture and the dogma seems quite consistent between the two.
Yeah.
And why Buddhism over Christianity is just the...
I think it was the why Christianity won was because with the invasions of the Nordic people and like the Alans and all the people from like as the Huns pushed out through the hundreds of years into the Roman Empire, this invasion, and then they were getting missionaries or meeting them at their gates, and then they kept moving from like the east down to Spain and then down to like to Turkey and all these things. They kept spreading because like that's how migrations worked, but then they would get converted. So there had like this, the community they were a part of were migrant people, but they also picked up religion. So like it's like this migratory missionary thing as they became more saving souls. And but like all the other ones, like other religions, they formed there and they kind of like what's it called? It's a D word as well. Dispersed, right? So like in India's Buddhism worked because he traveled around the country, but that was just because he was traveling around his own country at the time.
Right.
But like Christianity has been like built in Europe, which has been invaded, and like there's been multiple denominations of Christianity fighting at each other in a lot of different ways than other ones have. So I think they've been fighting for it and then fighting against. Once they consolidated into the Catholic, they got rid of the Adrianic, the iconoclastic Christianity. A lot of Christianities have died, right? Eastern Christianity is basically barely surviving in Lebanon because of that internal fight that Europeans seem to do all the time. That's why it was like a spreading out, trying to fight for like souls and lives, and it was just that missionary aspect that came out with Christianity that the other ones don't have.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like as it's been institutionalized as well, it's
Yeah,
developed a lot more.
and it connected with the Europeans during the exploratory zone when they started traveling the world, because they were locked onto that small continent of Europe, right? That's why we left. Christopher Columbus didn't leave because like we wanted to murder Indians. He left because like the Turks had blocked everyone off from the east. We could not travel all the way around Africa. The Sahara we couldn't get through because bloody the Sahara before boats, right?
Yeah.
So we traveled out, and we had Christianity at the time, so we just kept spreading it. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like a lot more of a practicing religion, whereas Buddhism seems a little bit more passive.
Yeah.
Passive in you kind of do it day to day kind of thing, whereas Christianity has a day for Christianity, and
Yeah.
you're supposed to maintain practice throughout the week by doing specific things. But Buddhism, I think, is a lot less specific, which
And
makes it a lot more appealing to me, but also...
And the practices from Christianity comes from the practice of Judaism, right?
Yeah.
Because we had the Sabbath on Saturday, not Sunday, and all those practices of like family, tradition, song, mostly have been built as it's a survival religion, right? It's based around like, how can we live in a society where we don't want to intermingle with the society, but we have to work with the society we're around, and we want to keep our community tight. So in a weird way, Christianity really adopted that in a lot of ways, but like it's like a survival instinct trying to like keep spreading out so it doesn't die.
Hmm.
And it was a pretty survival one too. It took 300 years for Christianity to actually like have a step.
Yeah.
Buddhism, yeah, it's more like philosophy too, right? It's a lot of
Yeah.
there is a God in Buddhism, right? It's just but it's not like a God. It's the everlasting universe. If I'm
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah. Basically,
Yeah.
yes, we're all God.
Yeah.
We're all part of this. It's a very holistic
Yeah.
philosophy. Yeah. But I'm doing not formal research, but informal research into the effects of religion on both physical and mental health, and it seems quite cool. It seems
I assume it's very beneficial unless it's overdrawn.
it really depends on the person, I guess. Yeah, I guess everything's dependent on the individual, but the mean seems it's quite conclusive that it's just good for you.
Sure.
Like religion's just good for you, and there are lots of different factors in that. I think a huge factor is the communal and social factors, especially as you get older. It seems to be a lot better for more elderly people, I think, because of the social factors, as well as you're having to move more and actually do things, and it gives you purpose in life.
When you say older, do you mean older like my parents older, or older as in like 40s, 50s?
How old are your parents?
70.
I would say your parents.
Okay.
I would say 60 plus probably.
Okay.
I think.
So it's a mix of like that external existential crisis, trying to find final moments of meaning, hence why they're also more interested in politics.
Mm.
Yeah, that would to that as well.
I think past that retirement age, I would throw the mean around the retirement age, because after that, what do you?
Well, it used to be like for a long time, the goal of the ideology was Christianity. You're a farmer, and your entire life's ideology isn't about raising crops and feeding the Lord, but rather doing hard work so you can go to heaven or not, depending on if you believed in like hard work makes it or not.
Mm-hmm.
But like now the youth ideology is capitalism. Make the world a better place by actually taking physical steps to produce more capital so people have better food and more heating.
Right.
And then when you get old and retired, it's time to move on to like a new one. Time to be religious. So what's the next step? How can the next generation do better? It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's cool stuff.
Yeah. I'm very glad that my parents are old, so I'm very glad that like I have that. I think I'm hitting that now, like that religious back, because they're fighting with that issue now in their life.
Yeah.
And like your family's kids, right? So if my parents have been talking about all this soul discovery and all this since I was a kid, because they were already like 50 years old when I was born, or just a little younger. They're 44 or something like that.
Right.
So it's been an interesting way how an older parent has like affected my entire view. Like my timeline is different. So.
Yeah, I think there's also there's a difference between religion and spirituality as well. I would say that for the most part, spirituality is what affects people positively. I mean, I guess religion is exclusive of it, but it gives it more of a platform.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I'd even say Buddhism is more spiritual, right? It's more.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's almost like it is Eastern philosophy. The thing ran away.
Where'd that go?
I know, right?
Do you have a tracker on your thing?
Yeah, we used to hold them. But it's making a noise. Oh, that's where it is.
In the pan cups?
yeah.
I've never seen that before. What kind of vape is that?
It's the Juul C Plus radio.
Interesting. How do you like it?
I like it. It tells me what I'm smoking. This is my last Juul pod, and then I'm quitting going to nicotine patches, and then I'm going to this medication with the Z that like blocks my neural inhibitors, so I don't want to smoke at all. I'm ready to quit. I'm at the end of the line of it.
Yeah. What do you think was the catalyst for starting to quit?
I've dreaded the RB in a year and a half, so
Yeah.
I kind of want to be off the smoking by then. Yeah. And I've never really liked it. I've just kind of been. Smoking's beautiful when you're alone, you're miserable, or you want a best friend and you go out smoking, right, and get you out of the air, gets that fresh oxygen and nicotine rush. But I've had a good 6 years with it. I'm ready to move on.
I found that was a big thing while traveling, is people, because it was so cheap to buy cigarettes over there and so easy to smoke socially, everyone smoked. Everyone that I met smoked.
Yeah. Well, it's such a social creature. I love it. But I've luckily learned I don't need the smoke to go socialize. It's just I'm trying to quit my not trying to quit my alcoholic addiction, but I'm trying to like drink super socially, like 2 drinks out for a whole night. So
Right.
if I can do that, I could probably go out, maybe not smoke, but go out to the smoking pit and hang out. So
Yeah, I tend to be an absolute nurse for beers.
yeah,
Like, I'll coast on a beer for an hour and a half.
it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to loosen you up. I've definitely been like, I've used it as a crutch a lot of the time, especially during the periods of before I knew about my depression, just drinking wildly and just doing stupid shit like spraining my hands, like punching stone walls, just because I'm like fucking trying to like feel something.
Yeah.
'Cause I didn't realize what was going on, but like just drinking for no reason. Just like, well, not drinking for the reason of the clutch, right?
Mhm.
And that's why I drank a couple nights ago, just blackout drunk, because I wanted to like get it out of my system. I don't want to drink like that anymore for a while.
Yeah.
It's a weird, it's such a socially easy drug. I don't know. I wish that things were more free, but then I don't want it free for everyone. I just wish we could have doctors that we could get prescriptions for those of us it works for, which are that fungal stuff. But it's hard now.
One day, slowly, surely.
Well, you could just travel to Denver if you really want, if I wanted to now, right?
I guess so. Hey, it just got decriminalized.
No, the whole
Yeah.
state. I was really surprised about it. I thought the city alone.
I want to say Oregon too.
Denver, Colorado, maybe Oregon as well.
Yeah, I think Oregon was the first to decriminalize.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I think it's worth it. I wonder if they're selling it in shops or if it's just like you can find it. Because I don't think I think, no, Denver's recreational. You can actually buy it recreational.
Really?
Denver's decriminalized. It's still federally illegal, so if you get caught by state trooper, you're screwed.
Yeah.
But I
It's a
think
Schedule 1.
not in Denver. Yeah.
But federally, it's a schedule. It's a same.
As weed.
Oh my god, yeah,
Right.
seriously.
America's ridiculous.
Weed, psilocybin, and methamphetamine are
Yeah.
all.
And I think heroin too.
Yeah.
No. Is heroin?
Heroin might be Schedule 2.
Yeah, I think it's not because it has medical things. Because they want to have like the chemicals you need to produce it to travel more easy. Because it's the opioid crisis.
Yeah.
That's some sad stuff too. What about you? Religious backgrounds, family, mother?
Catholic. Catholic. My mom was really good about taking me to tons of stuff while I was growing up.
Sure.
Um,
Multiple churches. And all
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So I went to a Buddhist church when I was quite young. I fell asleep.
Nice.
Yeah, I was tired. But she was quite good about just kind of showing me what was out there and not pushing me into anything. And I've just kind of figured out
Cool.
my own little path.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And how's the philosophy classes teaching? Were you doing that last year?
No, I just kind of decided to. So I'll take a bunch of summer courses and then I'll take 6 and 6 next year, and then hopefully
you.
they'll
Yeah.
cement me in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
but,
awesome.
Yeah, I've taken one philosophy course, but I'm just gonna try to pound out like an entire
Degree.
an
Yeah,
entire
that's
minor. in a
that's
year.
what I'm doing right now. So
Really?
that's my econ. It's all right now.
Yeah.
This semester, next semester. So I know the pain. That's cool. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
It's super neat. I love. Do you know Wisecrack? Do you watch that app?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love them. I've always been a philosophy fan in general,
Mhm.
but it's just really. They answer the questions both why do you exist, but also how do you exist with suffering or the absurdity or nihilism, or what is true nihilism and what is it's okay that the world is meaningless, or maybe it's just absurdity and it's not, and there's no right answer, and that's the coolness about it, that you can use the right answers as other tools to help you out with the moment.
Yeah. I think I latched onto optimistic nihilism for a while. I think
Cool.
that was really cool. I think that was just a cool philosophy of knowing that everything was pointless and that we're all gonna die, but also seeing the benefit of that
Sure.
you really have the opportunity to do
Yeah.
tons of things in this life, and there's nothing to be completely there's no point in being held in bondage by your fear,
Sure.
because we're all going to die and we're all afraid.
We might all die. I might make it. We'll find out. Last I checked, I'm still alive.
We don't know yet.
Yeah, this could be my simulation, and I might never die. Like, I don't know. If I'm experiencing this, maybe that's what I've been told. So we'll find out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or it could be AI.
Well, what was I just thinking when you said that too? Oh no, I just had it in my tongue. No, it's not. Okay. Well, I have a switch topic if you're down. Unless you have something as well.
Nope.
I've just awkwardly started dating a girl maybe like 3-4 weeks ago.
Awkwardly dating. Can you describe that to me?
Yeah, I will. I'm like fighting myself on like I'm a clingy little bastard, and it's not going in that direction, which is it's really good on
Yeah.
self-practice. She doesn't text a lot. She'll see this. Whatever, but it doesn't really matter because it's the truth, right?
Yeah.
And honesty is a cool thing that just because I'm feeling it doesn't mean it's the wrong, right? So she doesn't text a lot, and then like so I'm not texting a lot. It's almost like that little thing, and like 6 to 8 to 2 days later, text kind of stuff, which I'm like, I don't like to text a lot, but when I'm texting with a girl I like, it's like overindulgent, so it's kind of cool on that.
For sure.
She's been sick for the last like 3 weeks, so we've had like 1 real date and 2 study dates a month ago.
Yeah.
So then I've seen her on campus maybe 3-4 times this month, but I haven't seen her. So it's like this weird like I don't know where we are. I'm still in like butterflies, doggy, like the very. I'm still unconfident about like I was more confident when I didn't ask her out, and now that like I asked her out, and now I'm like unconfident about where we are, and then we haven't hung out since, and like I like seeing her, but I get all flustered, so it's fun, but it's also like and then I'm like by myself, I'm like oh man, what is this?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of like I don't know. I have one quote that I've been trying to use, and maybe you'll know who it is by because I keep forgetting, but like if you love a flower, you don't pick it up, you let it there and you water it when you go by. Right, so I'm not saying I love her, but like well, I do because I love everyone. I love you, man, and I love Ty here too, right?
Yeah.
So like that love is like, this is who she is. She's busy. She's sick. She's just not doing. This is how she is. If I like her, that's just who she is. So I should just like, maybe try and adapt myself, not change for her, but like, not ask her to change either, which I'm not going to, but I just allowing her to be. You know?
Right. Man, relationships are weird.
They're so weird. I took 2 years off and then celibacy for still 2 years technically. I turned off the voluntary celibacy,
Yeah.
but I haven't had sex since yet either, so it's still technically celibacy.
Yeah.
Oh.
Man, relationships are so weird. I just don't stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's just so weird. There's just so many dynamics in it. Being able to see, I mean, my past relationships, I've learned a lot, and I think it is just a huge learning curve. But
Yeah.
the more that I'm alive, the more that I accept the idea of transiency, just that everything changes. It's just a ever-changing world, and I just don't think anything's permanent. So, like, I'm not sure if I could ever be in a relationship and think of it as being a forever thing ever again. Because I think in my previous relationships I've had the idea that, because I mean,
White picket fence, nice house, but you don't really. It's not you, but you just. That's what you've been brainwashed into.
yeah,
saying.
exactly. Yeah, our society's really idealized the storybook ending,
Yeah.
and as I get older, I'm like, oh, I just think I think relationships are meant to teach you things, and then it might not last forever, but I'm very, very thankful for the relationships that I've had, regardless of how they've ended or
Yeah.
the fact that they have ended, because I've learned a lot about myself and how to treat people, and yeah.
100%. I think it's interesting. It's good to have and like to start applying relationships like what we have. Like if I'm gone in a year, and about what you said too, just half and half. So one, I've told her that I'm joining the military and I don't want a military wife. Also because I'm with you on the same boat of this transient life.
Right.
I don't. Maybe in the future, right? But you don't need to like date someone, even if it's just for the 8 months that I'm here for. Just like share that experience, you know, grow, because relationships really grow you no matter who you're with. You learn about yourself, you remind yourself that there's this other side where I'm getting nervous and flustered and all this, and then I think back to like, then how's it turn into when I get angry at my ex-girlfriends for doing something stupid just because like my brain gets all wired, right?
Yeah.
But it's like also that's you growing, and then like I recognize the growth that comes with that, and that it's a hard jumping out of your comfort zone to be with another person and to connect with them, and then you're two different souls trying to like see how that melds, and we're almost different species. Men and women are both human, but really we're like so much different than each other. There's a lot in similarities, but it really is just throwing like chocolate sauce on ice cream, and they're great together, but it's also like runny and melty, and they're two different things, right?
That's a pretty perfect metaphor. I like that. Yeah, I think a lot of people just try to be in a relationship or be with someone because just to not be alone. I think a lot of people are really freaked out about being alone.
Yeah.
Which
I think it's a hard thing too, because I think like the only thing I'm really scared of anymore is like I have a dream, not a real dream, but like a literally dream where I get to live forever and I just get to help guide humanity and just kind of like be there, letting them grow. More, I guess, like an actual God sim, rather than like our omniscient and not around God.
Yeah.
But like my greatest fear would be getting to live forever, everyone dying, and now I just have to wait out the universe, and it might go on forever. And that's my greatest fear. Like that's loneliness to the extent maximum. You know, I get locked out of heaven because I made the bad wish with the genie to help mankind, and now everyone dies, but then I can't help anyone. So I'm just like doomed for the universe forever.
Mass extinction happens and you just watch the rest of the rest
It'd
of
be
the cards
beautiful.
pulled
I'm
out.
sure I could figure it out, but it's also kind of like, man, that would suck. But in that same thing, it's also like, I think you can't get away from being scared, wanting to be in a relationship, not to be lonely. I think that's not the only thing, but like, I do want to be with her because I'm lonely, but I also don't want to. That's not the reason I'm with her.
Mhm.
But I think we're all lonely if we're not really like. I don't know. Are you not lonely? I love myself and I love the world and I love that I have my friends to experience things with. There's definitely, I'm not constantly lonely would be the right phrase.
Yeah.
But like I haven't kicked being lonely, right?
Mhm. I enjoy being alone, but it's definitely another experience to share life with someone.
Mm.
Like it's a very, very cool experience to share life with someone. And it happens so rarely. But I think what happens a lot of the time is people jump into the same relationship
Sure.
over and over again
Sure.
and keep on repeating the same things, and they don't learn or grow, which like we talked about how that seems to be, for me, that's the reason for a relationship, is to grow and learn. And I mean, I remember before my last relationship, I was like, wow, well, what else can I learn? And
Yeah.
then like, what else can I learn about a relationship? And then after that relationship, it's like, wow, I learned a ton.
100%.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah. No, I love relationships. They're always, I stuck away from them for a while because like they usually, I'm always the dumpy, not the dumper, because like my family is like all about like fighting for the relationship, even though they don't. My parents didn't love each other, so it's always really fun. But like it's still, there's this constant thing about the relationships talking about. You really should fight for it because our past, a lot of issues with our relationships nowadays, which I agree with each other. I agree with the just quit. Like everyone is quitting all the time, right?
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I just always think of like working on a relationship is a lot better because then you're also working on, there's something there that might be able to be fixed. Maybe it's not an actual incompatibility with the two of you, but like it's trauma, it's issues. There's something not wrong with you, but there's something that you can work on. And like we all have that, right? We all have things that we can work on. I can be less of an asshole. I can be less aggressive and cutting people's sentences off and just being less weird and just maybe more concise, maybe think before I talk more sometimes and all these things, right? But I think we can work with our partners through these hardships rather than just like, oh, I can't have this guy. Why can't he just be like me or some shit?
Yeah.
So, I don't know what. I'm enjoying these conversations today just because like sometimes I try and tie up my meaning, but I'm really just trying to just like state a point and it doesn't have to have a meaning. Well, it does have, everything has a meaning, right? But it's like, I'm not trying to tie in my meaning. If that
Right.
makes sense.
Yeah. Just stating things for the sake of stating things, as opposed to having a long story.
Sure.
That was also Buddhist scripture.
Is it?
Yeah. What you mentioned earlier. I think it was, yeah, if you find a flower beautiful and you take it out of the ground, then it won't be beautiful anymore. But if you water the flower and leave it alone,
Yeah.
it'll be more beautiful.
I know it's the guy who said it is a Hindu in my head, but he could be from Buddhist scripture. It's the guy who was like that what's his name? He's got white hair, kind of balding, Indian guy, long flowy hair, wears an orange toga a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen his face.
Rajneesh.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And is he not?
Osho.
He's not Sikh.
Osho.
Maybe. Yeah. That's what I think it is. Before he
yeah.
went a little intense.
He has hundreds of books.
Yeah.
Man, they love him in India. You go into a bookstore, all Osho. That was what was that documentary? Wild Wild Country?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard it's good.
It was good.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. It was yeah, just a really cool telling. I'd recommend it.
Yeah, I
Kind
really
of-
want to check it out.
But man, talking to people in India about Osho, they loved him
Yep,
and they hated America for what happened.
that's too bad.
Yeah, but he was a really, he's very liberal. He's
Mm.
very, very open-minded about everything. And yeah, he was a very free person.
I've been having a thing about, this is connecting to more what we're talking about, how he's popular in India and not popular in the West.
Mhm.
I've been having this thought about like, what, maybe not what the West is best, but what I think the West does really well is synchronism, which is like the blending of two cultures. It goes back to the Greeks when they went to Egypt and they made new gods out of Greek Egyptian gods, like Amun-Ra, or like Romans copying Greeks, even though they're not Greeks, and their architecture is now Roman or Greco-Roman, to like the Celtic clothing of the actually having pants was not a Roman thing, but we adopted it from the Celts and we just stole it. It's cultural preparations is the issue we might be calling it today.
Mhm.
But I think the West is almost getting scared of itself. Unlike, I think we should return to more cultural preparation, but not being in like, maybe not the capitalist form. Maybe that could be considered, what did I say? Something of preparation. But like, we need to start going out and remixing more cultures into our culture,
Mhm.
because I think it allows us to be better with ourselves. You know, it's just India has spent so much time doing spirituality, same with like a lot of other cultures, and there's other things like the holistic learning. I think the best way for us really to deal with our First Nations issues is like to make our culture more First Nation and their culture more Western.
Mhm.
But we're like almost, Peterson talks about how conservatives build walls and all that, and it's useful. But this is one of those things that we're building walls because we want to protect against cultural appropriation. But I think we're actually like making new camps in a too much of a level, right? It's why we're like, it's why I feel like this race, it's not bad racism like the 1930s anymore, but it's like, it's getting heated between cultures in a weird way now that it hasn't been before. And I think we're just shutting each other out and trying to mix our ideas. The dialectic in philosophy, we're not trying to make a better thing out of the two things. Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of see it as, no, I wouldn't say the opposite of that problem, but I think that Canada doesn't have a culture. Canada doesn't have a defined Canadian culture. Our food is maple syrup and poutine.
Yeah.
And I found it really interesting when people would ask me what the Canadian culture was, because we don't have one.
Sure.
People would ask me what the foods were in Canada. Well, we have Chinese food and we have all these other things that we've just,
Blend.
yeah, we blended from other countries, and I think that Canada has this really amazing opportunity to be the first real global country,
Yes.
like a global village, because I don't think the States would ever do it.
It's a goulash. We're stained glass picture frame with multiple camps, but we're
Mhm.
able to look beautiful together.
Yeah, and because there's so many groups, especially in the Lower Mainland, that intertwine with one another. Cricket's becoming a huge thing, a larger thing in Canada.
Sure.
The Sikh population is super big, the Chinese population, and there are just tons of people living and commingling with one another.
Mhm.
And I do agree that I think that it could be a little bit more. I think that would be interesting.
I
Because
think the scare is like sheer and PPC. The fact that we have this PPC party is intense. Let me let you finish up. Sorry.
yeah, so that basically I'm finished, but I think that we do have the opportunity to come together and get ideologies from other groups, because that is, I mean, that's what I like so much about relationships, is that you learn a lot about yourself through other people and how other people see the world, and sometimes you take their perspectives, because I do think that us as human beings, our personality is just a conglomerate of things that we really like and pull into ourselves, and that is what creates us, and that is who we are, is just our surroundings.
Yeah.
And I think that ties back into the whole Buddhism thing of us being God, us being the universe, that we are so similar to one another because we take from one another. And I think that's a really good thing, because we get to find what works best for us, and we get to find what we like the most and shape our entire identity and personality on that. So I think that the more that we accept other cultures, other personalities, then the more that we can find this middle ground where we just love each other and love ourselves, obviously, which is
And I think it's
pivotal to the former.
I think you're right. I think we are doing it.
Mhm.
I just think it's I'm not even trying. I'm trying not to be aggressive in this area because I
No,
want
no, no, please.
I'm not even like I don't. I'm naturally being aggressive,
Mhm.
which isn't because I like to do this, but it's not what I want in this part.
Mhm.
Which I think there are two camps going on. There are people like me who want this to rise because we are this multinational, multilateral culture,
Mhm.
right? And I think there's this also camp rising that is the return of nationalism, right? Populism, we the people. I mean, the people is too diverse to say we the people.
Right.
It's all these things that are rising up, and I think I like conservatism, but at the moment I'm kind of like, it's almost like isolation is rising. It's with Trump, it's with like the fascists in Poland and Hungary and all these things re-rising, and I'm like, I want to continue refining this ideology of like, how can we make the mixture of culture the right way? I'm not sure if it's liberal doctrine, like the old liberal, everyone, I think liberal is too universal.
Mhm.
I think it's actually, we should be growing our cultures and mixing them, you know, like having both at once. Like, I have a painting of the tsunami in my room, like the wave by
Wave off Kanagawa.
So yeah. And just like that on my wall, even though it's consumerism, just kind of like how this is here.
Mhm.
I know that that painting was drawn in like the 16th, 1700s, and like that period of that extreme abstract art is because like Europeans were trying to get in. It's this wave of foreigners. It's also the wave of the world changing around you. You can't fight nature, but at the same time, we're using this really abstract looking art compared to modernism that Europe was popping out. Also, it's like Japan, I feel like it's being suffocated by the world. It's the overlords are doing all these things, but like by having that painting in my room, that's like allowing me to grow off this Chinese or the Japanese culture and art, and that's synchronism because I am growing off the philosophy of the Japanese, which I also find really cool. But
Mhm.
like that is not seen as the same way. And like when we talk, we don't talk about the same way like what we do with Japan and North America that other cultures, right? We don't talk about Buddhism in the same, or Indian culture with America like Japan probably almost set in like American culture. We know Japan's different than us,
Yeah.
but we almost feel more connected with Japan. And I think we need to re-establish those links to other countries.
Mhm.
I don't know. I study China. I am into China, but I don't know Japan or China as well as Japan. Because I think it's another scary thing about China. Like I don't know them. I don't know why their art works. I don't know how they think. I don't know how their ideologies play out. I'm a little Confucius. I've read the Tao. I've looked into the Tao and all these things. So I understand their culture a little bit. We're like closing each other off. This border, this trade, this culture, and this. I want to push for more of that with all these cultures. But you can't go and stream like Trudeau and dress up in traditional garb. I think what he should have done is got a tailor to make an ultra modern Western design of Indian cultural traditional clothes. Like look at really stylish. Look at how Canada realizes this tradition of India. Maybe not use the colors of India too bright. Maybe like make it like a dark burgundy red and gray or whatever suits are normally
Mhm.
in India. So he shows that this is showing my aspiration that this is your culture and this is mine, and together we will continue in trade. And that's, I don't think the liberals are doing it either, you know. I don't know. That was just a tangent.
Oh no, that was really good. I like that.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah, that was very well put.
Thanks. Cool. Thanks, man. It was fun. I've been having that. I had a fight with a friend of mine about that a while ago. That was about a year ago. I had a fight with her about it. Just about she was First Nations, and I had a friend who was from oh god, I'm a dick. I want to say Zambia, but actually that's not true. He's from the country besides Zambia. Whatever. But like, just like we were talking about it, and she was kind of scared that because how badly the West has like destroyed her culture, right? And then him too, the West had kind of fucked his culture. I don't know.
It's definitely going to be, I mean, as time develops, I don't think, we might actually, at the rate at which globalization, more likely that we'll see it, but just the idea that cultures will start to dissipate and kind of go into the melting pot, and there will be camps of people practicing particular culture and religion more heavily, but on the macro grand scheme of things, I think that everything's kind of boiled down to the same thing.
It is slowly. That's what globalization is doing.
And I think that the same thing turns into more philosophy than religion. Like you said earlier, Buddhism's more of a philosophy than a religion, and I think that people are starting to get super into Buddhism, especially in Western culture. I think that with the generation that's rising, it seems that Buddhism seems a lot more palatable than institutionalized religions, where you have to practice all the time and you're being told what to do consistently. Buddhism is just very free flowing, relaxed.
But I think even like, I agree, and I think especially with our modern generation of this, the practice of Buddhism is just so much more easy to jump into. It gets you away from this. I'm all for technology, but Buddhism allows you to like, I don't know, touch back. But I guess so does other religions too. I don't know. I actually don't have a thought on that.
My theory on why Buddhism's taking hold a little bit more is primarily yoga, actually. I think that because yoga is such a desirable practice, because number one, it feels really good, it's good for you, and it's a social thing as well. Primarily it's a social thing. You have to learn before you can practice on your own. And I think that just ties into Buddhism. I mean, because it's a Buddha practice. Like that's Buddha.
Well, it's definitely just it's an Indian practice that has been adopted by Buddhists for sure, because they use it in Sanskrit. So it's definitely Hindu, is it not? Or I don't know, it's even before Hinduism.
Yes, the initial stretching was something else, but then the practice of yoga itself was created by Buddha.
Okay.
Because he mastered the form of stretching that was prior to, created yoga. But there are also many different forms of yoga.
And it's changed into so many things.
Like there's yin yoga, there are tons.
Well,
Like
even my mom's starting up not Tai Chi, but it's another Chinese one. But it's also a deviation of controlling the spirit through Tai. It's another one, I don't remember. It just has a little time.
Yeah.
It's super cool. I'm hoping once I finish this school year, I'm taking the year and a half off to both get in shape, but also do yoga for a mixture of the spirit. I don't know which one yet. I'll do the research into what feels right for me.
Yeah.
But it has so many benefits. So it's just like for the mind, the soul, the body.
I think that yoga teachers are educated enough on chakras to talk about it and kind of spark some kind of interest. I mean, I think it would be the same if Christianity had some form of physical activity that everyone could get into without it being a religious dogma. Then people would get into it because it's just cool stuff. Yoga's awesome.
I have a small theory for Islam that the praying to the east 5 days a week and bowing down, it's almost very similar to what is it called? It's I go off the mic so you can see it, but it's this is what you pray in with Allah, or I guess the east is this way.
Yep.
But it's like this all the way down, full on stretch the arms out. But it's very similar to the to this in Buddha too, or in yoga. It's a very similar stretch. So I wonder if it's like a way for Islam to find a way to help the body in the back, because like all these farmers and all these goat farmers, they're not stretching, they don't know what that means. Why pray in that manner? It's almost, it helps the body relax, it stretches it out, because that's what the pose is that in yoga. It's not child pose, because that's opposite, but it's like the basic bow.
Yeah, I call it stop sign personally. Sure. Because I'm quite informal with my yoga practice. I kind of practice my own form.
It's usually when you kind of period out for a minute, right? To kind of take a break.
Yeah, and you're stretching your lats. Like you're trying to get into your lats and your back and get your shoulders, because man, shoulders are messed up now. Everyone's so far forward and posture's just horrible. Yeah, that's a really, I like that stretch a lot.
Nice.
Yeah.
I do that every day now. I do a little light workout and just kind of roll into that. And the upward dog, or whatever. I don't know.
Down dog?
Sure. I don't really care. I've done yoga a couple times, and every time it feels amazing afterwards.
Yeah.
Is there anything going on in your life?
Not particularly. I wanted to ask, so what do you think could have been done better about the federal election? Like if you were to critique it, obviously we'll put this out today and then the federal election will be done tomorrow, or I'll try to put it out today. I don't know, I have a lot of shit to do, but
it's all good, man.
Yeah, but the federal election will be done. I would have loved to have you in earlier, and then we could have talked about platforms and actually tried to.
I've only read. I've been posting them every day, but I've only read about half of them. Because like I thought I'd post it and read it every day, but like I've just been like reading some of them.
I read a few.
Yeah, they're really cool. I'm glad I was doing it, because by doing it, I read more than I've ever read before. What could be done better?
So for me, so basically what happened was Charlie and I we were downtown at the record shop, and a lady came over, and she was part of Kamloops TV or Kamloops Radio, and
CCFJT or whatever it's called.
yeah. So she asked us what we thought needed to be discussed in the federal election, and obviously that's difficult to answer on the spot.
Of course.
Charlie had a really good point about how rent and housing costs is just not a thing at all.
Sure.
Which seems like it should be more of a discussion, but I think that watching the federal debate, people just cut each other off all the time, and you don't really have a chance to actually explain your platform without being attacked by someone else. So my thought was that if each party leader had an opportunity to just sit down and talk with one another for something like this, like a 2-hour segment and it gets streamed and you can listen to it on podcast or anything, I think that would be I think that would be helpful, but I'm
100%. I think I watched Bernie Sanders, Andrew Yang, Kamala Harris in the States, and there's one more. They went on Joe Rogan and a couple other ones. Andrew Yang went on H3 a couple times. Again, I think podcasts, it's too bad they're not taking advantage of podcasts. I think I didn't even think about that, but I think that would be really beneficial to just hear, because you can put on a fake face when you podcast, but there's definitely more. Even I know I'm faking. This is like the best me right now on this podcast. This is me trying to be intellectual, trying to play with ideas. Like, this is not who I am all the time. Definitely not. This is like me trying to be an image of my best self. But that's also, I'm not being a purely fake. I can't be a politician. I can, but like, it's hard to be a fake self on a podcast.
Yeah, you're crafting a persona.
Yeah.
Especially because we know each other so well. It's difficult to. If I put on a crazy persona, you'd just probably be able to call me out on my bullshit.
Yeah,
because I think we're very similar.
Yeah, and I haven't seen you with, like, I wanted to talk to you when I was going through my heavy depression, because I would like that's another face. I can't even fake that face. Like, I'm feeling better at the moment. I'll probably feel sad on my couch when I go home later tonight. I can't get away from that. I can't even fake that right now. But I think podcasts are such a better way of, you have to be real, and like, I think the debates, it's a debate that sucks. What I would do if I had the choice, I would remove attack ads. I don't know why we have attack ads. And I posted one a couple days ago on their technology platform, and a girl commented, a friend of mine from a long time ago, she's scared of the censorship of Facebook and the fact that it's a censorship. And I disagree, in Canada at least, because it's more like putting, what is it called, hate speech laws onto the digital commons.
Yeah.
It's illegal to say the N-word to someone in public or be racist, unless you're friends and there's the thing. But if you're actually hateful, it's illegal in Canada. And I don't think America should get rid of that, but since it's part of our culture, I think it's a very important thing. And I think having these posts about Trudeau did this and this, and if there's a lie behind that, or if it's just like baloney, I think these things should be removed. I think I hate that it's like a paternalistic aspect, but we should be paternalist. We have police, we can't speed, so why are you just telling lies online? Even if they don't know it, it's just corrupting the political sphere. It doesn't have to be purely factual. I think maybe more feelings to be talked about. You can say maybe like, Cheer could probably go around saying like, I don't feel Trudeau is helping us out because I think his gas project is taking away jobs from Canadians and it's bad for the economy. And I feel by looking at this and this and this is what I feel is coming out. But instead he's like, Trudeau's lying to you about this, and he's lying to you about this, and he's lying to you about this. Some of those are not true lies. And I think that's wrong. I think maybe talking about feelings, but trying to call out, he's stupid, he's young, he's idiotic, he's a disgrace to Canada. I don't think that's helpful for Canadians. It's fear tactics. I think Trudeau's done an amazing job for the election this year as a contender. He has a lot of screw-ups, he has a lot of benefits. He can only, he's the only guy who's been in office, so everyone else can be attacked. You can attack him for where they think he's wrong, and they can make promises. I think maybe the removal of the promise, I don't know I think maybe like telling up what just the term, like if you can say we want to achieve more job growth by producing more subsidies to this, and even if that doesn't come true, I think the ability to say we promise to help your country, maybe it's, but maybe that's dangerous or to the hope, because the promise is hope, but at the same time, it's almost such, it almost feels like you're lying. Like, you know, like if you promise someone, especially if you don't know them as a politician, if I promise you something and I don't come through, it hurts because it's a relationship we have. But if a politician does, and he's part of the ideology I'm with, it hurts, but in like a way that it doesn't affect him. Because maybe if you're a regular person, I'll feel bad that I broke my promise with you, but I might still do it and get away with that. But if Trudeau breaks a promise to you on the television, you're nothing to him, so that weight of consciousness doesn't go around with him. It might, but like I really don't think it would.
Right.
It might affect the person he made that plan with, but he's actually promising 10 million people, not the 3 people he made the plan with. And he might feel bad for the 3, but it's not causing that subconscious issue. It's hard to at least get that subconscious issue with the other people you're not lying to, but like promising is such a bad framework for this.
Yeah, so largely, I agree with those. I think changing the language that's allowed to be used, and yeah, the misinformation is a freaky thing. Just reminds me of, have you seen Chernobyl?
Fuck, so brutal.
So good, but that, and anytime that talking about speech laws or anything, I always think about when they're in that room and talking about it right after the Chernobyl explosion happened, and that the old man is like, okay, we have to shut down all the phone lines and stop the spread of misinformation. Like any impingement on free speech just kind of freaks me out, because
Sure.
that's just how that kind of stuff starts.
Sure.
Totalitarianism just starts with no more free speech, and then, but I do agree that I think language is really important. I think that I would hope that there's an awesome runner at some point, or
maybe we'll
party
see.
member that actually takes that into account. And I think that honesty goes just such a long way, and I personally would be more inclined to vote for someone who's honest over someone who's obviously trying to blow smoke up my ass.
Sure.
Like, hey, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. You're gonna get more money, you're gonna get more, there's gonna be more programs, you're getting more money, everything's gonna be perfect, as opposed to someone who's like, hey, it's not great, but I'm gonna do the best that I can, I'll try to do this, I'll try to do that.
I'll say even that, it's not to say try, like, we have some plans to do this.
Yeah.
Like, if saying try is almost like a weak statement.
Yeah.
But the promise is the opposite of a weak statement, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think we have plans in place, we have a strategy, we have communities on standby, we know how we're gonna get our tax revenue. Like, man, I'm not even I am an adult, but like, I can make plans and show how I expect this to happen, and I can show you to it when I talk about it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Why can't a government that has hundreds of employees come up with draft policies at least of how we think we're gonna do this? And this is how our plan is. It might not work out this way, but we have an idea. Things might come on the path, but here's what we're gonna do, and be transparent. Construction firms increase the concrete, so now we can't build this dam for the same price. That's why the price is going up. But no one's
Right.
telling you this. They just say, oh, the cost has jumped 4 times. Or maybe why not be honest about construction? I think the thing that's maybe deviated a lot of us, me and you maybe recently, is my new main philosophy this year is the yin and yang. I am trying to find a balance right now.
Mm-hmm.
I had a trip with my roommate a couple days ago, and I think Peterson says it right, where it's like, you want to know what your hell looks like, and you also want to know what heaven looks like. Because if you don't know hell, you don't know how far you've fallen towards the worst case scenario on your way to heaven, right?
Right.
And like, I used to be scared of the idea of freedom of speech. Maybe I was getting caught up in all this stuff going on in the Peterson realm, and like the videos that popped off on that and all this.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the balance is, I'm such a contrarian that I try my best to put the ideas that I'm not naturally with. And like, yeah, authoritarianism is the hell. I don't want an authoritarian state.
Right.
But I don't want a freedom of speech state like America either. I think it's so freedom that it just causes too much issues. And finding that balance is, maybe we should have some censorship. Have you read Plato's The Republic yet?
a little bit.
It's
in
okay.
there.
It's okay. It's a pain in the ass. But
It's
yeah.
strap.
There's a good one which is about like you wouldn't give if your friend gave you a shotgun and he said hold on to this, I'm not feeling well right now. He comes back feeling worse. You don't give him the gun back. And that's the same thing. You don't. We do have laws in place that take away your for the society again and back to the China. It's sometimes there are some things. Maybe we shouldn't be saying the N word. You know, I can say kike because I'm a Jew, I guess, right?
Mhm.
But like at the same time, I don't want people saying it just because it's freedom, and I don't think I want people saying fuck Trudeau or fuck Andrew Scheer or fuck Singh or fuck Elizabeth May just because I don't like them. I just think it actually just it festers, you know, it just doesn't. But like you have to find that balance, and you know, it's like maybe promoting people not fine, but like you can talk badly about them, but you have to be serious about it. You can't just like throw around, sling it. It's like apes throwing poop at each other.
Right.
But you can't let them. You can't just take away their freedom either. So like, it's like you want to promote criticism properly, you know, and like even if it's at least in a public sphere, or not even a public sphere, but, you know, like at least on spheres. Like if you want to talk to your friends and say Trudeau's a homo or Andrew Scheer just sucks oil up his nose or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. But I think like if you're trying to be in a public sphere, I don't know, and that's what I mean. It's this weird. This year I'm really trying to find my balance of when is too much allowed and when is too much or not. I'm okay. I want to be a contrarian for my whole life, but do I have to be such an asshole contrarian? And like, or do I just like agree and listen and do the conversation? But like internally, I am a contrarian. So then I'm just hurting my internals by stopping myself from being a contrarian. So I need to be less of this.
Yeah, I think it's good to be devil's advocate. I mean, I appreciate it. I always appreciate it when friends call me
Not
out.
all the time, you know.
When friends tell me that I'm being an idiot, and like that ideology's absolutely messed up. Don't stop. I think it's a good thing, and I do agree with. I think especially on social platforms, I think as I guess I'd say our generation, but I think people are getting better about not posting. Yeah, just random hate speech on social media, and I think that hate speech has become more concentrated from racism to political hate speech. So I do think that's a good idea, that being more intelligible in your speech just seems like being very particular. I try to be very, very particular when I speak.
Imagine automation, fuck censorship. Imagine removing the fuck Trudeau and then a robot, instead of just deleting your comment automatically, imagine a robot online sees those 3 words and then rearranges it and says, I'm disheartened by Trudeau. It won't censor you, and if people see this, they know you might have said something else, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe it says edited by caption bot or something, but it's maybe just why censor? Maybe just try and maybe I have a hard time expressing my emotion. I've become better and better over these last couple of years. That's just because I'm a self-growth guy. We're both self-growth guys. Mm-hmm. How do you parent people who've never been parented? Maybe don't censor them, but find a new way to have robots change their phrases. And like, if someone writes, I feel like Trudeau's screwing up jobs in gas industry, man, it changes the words. Like Trudeau's tax, it finds the right words to say Trudeau's tax policy will affect these jobs, or it'll link, because that's how algorithms can work. You could link it to an article. Some guy doesn't even hyperlink it, but it finds those 3 words, Trudeau's fucked without gas and oil, and it links to a CBC or article that gives you a hyperlink right there. Because this guy said this, it changes the words, so it expresses what he says for him.
Yeah.
Because we're failing, right? We're failing at communicating properly, and that's the biggest problem: this lack of communication. Mm-hmm. I agree. Censorship is a problem.
Yeah. The sound of that scares the absolute piss out of me.
But how do we find a way to improve? The problem with censorship is that we need to find better communication so we can understand each other better.
Have the potential to intelligibly share our ideas. When you're talking about that initially, I just thought of maybe a class throughout.
Yeah, good luck getting people to go though.
No, through like elementary and high school, because now there are going to be there are going to be classes that are coming up that are more geared towards socialization and teaching kids how to socialize, because I don't think it's a very good thing. I don't think
we can fix our education system. I think we can improve many things. We need to teach them about tax policies, economics, personal well-being, mental health. Like there's so many things that are still not even taught at all. Maybe we can do it more. I don't know. Education is the answer.
Yeah.
How do we do it? I think we need to give it in bite-sized pieces outside of school. I think adults need to be educated. Like, I don't know why we stop educating. Finding a new way, maybe platforms like Gillette's ad against toxic masculinity maybe went too hard for sure, but it was the right ad. It just was done wrong.
Yeah, it was the right move. It was the right idea.
Yeah, and I think something like that. Maybe it's our societies, our cultures, our regions. We need to keep educating. It's paternalism. It's everywhere. We are being paternalized. My cigarettes cost money because it's hiddenly taxed. It doesn't sound like it is, but that's what that is. That's paternalism. Make no tax. The government makes no money. Libertarianism. Let me be free. Let me smoke my cigarettes at a cheaper cost. But we've already decided as a society we have hidden taxes on soda and junk food and like sometimes you can get memberships and like we subsidize oil because we think the energy is better for the society, right? We are doing this stuff. What's the right method to keep paternalistically improving this communication dialogue? So I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of it comes down to education.
Yeah.
Creating classes, teaching people how to put their ideas forth in a way that's not harmful to, number one, themselves and everyone else around them, because once you say something, especially on the internet, it's out there. And once you say anything,
No.
it's out there. Like you can't take something back after you've said it, which is
Unless you torch that data farm.
yeah. But yeah, I think a lot of it's in educating the next group, because socialization classes are going to be a thing soon.
Yeah.
Teaching people how to talk and have normal conversations and
Good old Chinese re-education camps.
eye contact, handshakes.
Yeah.
CCP is the best ever.
Just give a free How to Win Friends and Influence to every new high school student.
It's a scary book, man. I just called it a manipulation book.
Yeah,
I lent it
that's
to a
what it
friend.
is.
I lent it to a friend. She was like, "What is this?" This is the manipulation book. This is how to brainwash people.
But it can be used good too. I think
Oh.
it's intentions, right? I use it all the time. I
Yeah.
use the processes of remembering names, trying to learn the person's language, especially with the foreign students on campus.
Yeah.
Kamu hachu, or hello in Bangladeshi, or ni hao ma, or ni hao ma. They're really knowing someone's name and saying hello in their language is like this weird bonding thing.
Yeah.
Probably 7 more minutes. Do you want to? If not, we can end right here.
Mhm.
Manly Woman, have you watched The Joker?
I have.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on it? It was a pretty light movie, I felt. Like, maybe not light, but it was very, it wasn't deep.
So what did you think?
I laughed throughout most of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very funny. And there's a lot of awkward, funny moments, but like, I felt like it was just like, talking about the mental health that most people know about. Like, if you don't help people, you're just gonna cause a problem.
Mhm.
And like, I think the gun violence in America and like, just like medication things that we're already talking about, it would have done better maybe 10 years ago. But now, I think it was beautifully filmed, acting was fantastically done.
Yeah.
But the movie itself is just a little late.
Mhm.
So,
I think it was a good push to keep things going.
cool.
Keep the
That's
talk
good. That's a
going.
good way to look at it too.
There was a lot of imagery that I really liked, a lot of cinematography. The one that really stuck with me was, do you know Albert Camus' essay on Sisyphus?
I've heard it. I haven't read it.
So I don't want to get this wrong.
And that's pushing the rock up the hill.
Yeah, exactly. So Sisyphus had to push a rock up a hill for eternity, and Albert Camus talked about how the rock was like meaning in life, and then, but he actually said that in some sense that he envied Sisyphus, because as the rock falls down, then you get this break and you get this freedom from everything that is reality. And I thought there was some really good imagery with Arthur Fleck. That was the character's name.
I think you're right.
Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix's Arthur Fleck. Before he came, so as Arthur Fleck, he walks up this mountain of steps every single day to get home from his job and his therapist, and he has to do this every single day, and that's him rolling the boulder up the mountain, and then finally when he becomes the Joker, the whole screen is absolutely lit up, and it's much more bright and lively, and it's like the flowers are blooming, and he's blooming as an individual, and he strolls down this huge staircase. So I thought that was, he dances around. I thought that was really good.
That's cool.
I'm not sure if that was a meaningful, or I'm not sure if that was an intentful connection by the director to bring that back to Sisyphus and Albert Camus, but I personally I was like, wow, that's just.
Yeah.
I watched it with Sam, one of my old roommates, like
Cool.
best friend. And we talked about that a little bit after. So I think that was really powerful for me. The idea of a lot of people, I think, are consistently pushing this boulder up a
Yeah.
mountain all the time, and then.
Cool. Sometimes
For-
when they, for a moment, when they actually find, for a moment in their life, sometimes when something happens, it either breaks them or it frees them.
Yeah.
And then they're free for that. Like short, he didn't even finish running down the stairs. He got caught by the police because he had to
Yeah.
run it out. But for that moment of that was the movie. That's all the images you see, the meme and all that. That's the moment.
Yeah.
That's a really cool spot.
Yeah, and that was, to me, that was like really, really important for the movie, the character, because after that, he wasn't free, but he was more free, because I think that was in some way he experienced an ego death where he wasn't Arthur Fleck anymore, and he became the Joker, and he
Yeah.
accepted that, and that was his metamorphosis. That was
Cool.
him coming from a little lonely caterpillar into a butterfly. That
Yeah.
was him developing as the hero to the story. That was him coming back, and yeah, he was the hero of the story in the reality of the movie. Yeah, so
we're
that
all
was
our hero. We're all the hero in our story, right?
yeah, yeah. So
That's
that
pretty
was,
cool.
and then him running away was, I think that the whole idea of the Joker and chaos and just impending chaos consistently, especially I think Heath Ledger's Joker captured a little bit more thoughtfully, was the idea of chaos is everyone is Sisyphus and the Joker just leaves the boulder.
Cool.
Like he just runs off. So I thought that was also cool, is that
The dog always after a bone, is
Yeah.
essentially like, yeah.
he didn't even have to walk back up those stairs ever again. That was the last time that he ever saw the stairs. He ran off after that and refused to accept responsibility for anything anymore.
Cool. I love that. Thanks. I think it's also actually, yeah. And I think that's why people talk about movies, because sometimes we need that other perspective.
Hmm.
I think it reminded me too. I'll end with this. The last thing I had. I'm sure you maybe heard that quote that Steve Jobs had said. Once you realize you can poke the world, everything's different. Everything changes. That now you can have an impact on the entire world.
Yeah.
And it was like that story, but when everything goes tragically. That was really
Yeah.
cool. Anyways, thank you
Cool.
so much.
Thanks a lot, man. No,
Yeah,
no, no, no.
yeah,
no.
yeah.
Come here.
Oh, it was a lot of fun.
Thanks a lot, man. That was sweet. I'll turn this off and we can talk off the air. Off the air, Adult Swim.
Where's my audio recorder?